in the know, and in the now. To learn more about this unique program and its hosts, tune into the show on the Tan Talk Radio Network.
It's rich, refreshing, and rewarding. Tune in every Wednesday from 9 to 10 p.m. for the positive, powerful, and provocative Rich Kemp Live radio show. Your host, Bahamian empowermentalist Rich Kemp, will spend the hour empowering you to empower you. You don't want to miss this uplifting hour every Wednesday from 9 to 10 p.m. That's Rich Kemp Live on the Tan Talk Radio Network. And visit his website, rlkemp.com. Thinking about starting your own business? Then you need to listen to the Entrepreneur Opportunity Hour every Thursday from 6 to 7 p.m. There's nothing more rewarding than starting your own business. Gene and Mr. Dukes will bring you tips and advice from themselves and other entrepreneurs that will help you get started. Have you already started your own business? Then call in and share your story to help other entrepreneurs. That's the Entrepreneur Opportunity Hour every Thursday from 6 to 7 p.m. right here on the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Hey, you new to the area or just want to know about the best hidden gems and upcoming events? Stay tuned. Be Local Buzz with Devin takes you to these places, introduces you to the best businesses, and tells you about upcoming buzz. Preset your radio to Tan Talk 1340 AM or 106.1 FM every Thursday from 4 to 5. That is the Be Local Buzz with Devin on Tan Talk 1340 AM and 106 FM every Thursday from 4 to 5. Looking forward to speaking with you.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
It's now time for Connecting Caregivers with author, speaker, caregiver advocate, and talk show host Linda Burhans, the gal who cares for caregivers.
All the caregivers around the world today, it's time to lift you up. It's time to celebrate. Good afternoon, and welcome to Connecting Caregivers with me, Linda Burhans, the gal who cares for the caregivers with love, laughter, and lessons learned, because, I got a whole bunch of that stuff, right?
You do.
And with me is my best friend, my co-host, and sidekick, not psychic, Lynn Thornley.
Good afternoon.
How are you today? How come you don't have Valentine's clothes on?
I didn't sleep last night. Oh, I know. I forgot.
Every time it's a holiday, she brings ears I gotta wear.
Oh my gosh!
Flashing necklaces, and I said, "Oh, I got a new shirt."
Oh my goodness!
When I went to pick you up today, and you walked out of the house, I was like, "Oh my goodness, she's wearing blue."
Not very smart. Not very smart. Didn't sleep too well last night, and not thinking.
Evidently,
it's nothing new. No.
And with us on the board, we have Ed. How are you today, Ed?
I didn't dress for Valentine's Day either. So.
No, but you have a big heart.
I'll be here on Valentine's Day anyway, so.
Oh, yeah.
I'll be in court. Well, you never know where you're going to be on Valentine's Day. But I'm going out to dinner that night, and I was told by a friend of mine to expect flowers.
Oh, and I'm going to the casino.
Oh, you are? Oh.
As soon as I'm finished with court with you.
It's all good. It's all good. Well, the first thing I want to do is give a shout out to our newest listeners. We have Cece in St. Pete, Magnolia in PA, Pennsylvania, and Nancy in Seminole.
Welcome, ladies.
So, like I always say, there's always plenty of room around the Connecting Caregiver table for more listeners, whether you listen to us when we're live on the AM/FM or on Facebook or on YouTube or our website or wherever you can stand to listen to us, because my mission, as always, is to bring help and support to the caregivers through resources, a shoulder, and just information. And I want you to always remember, if you have a question, I don't have all the answers, believe me, but I know people that do. So if you have any questions about anything with caregiving, I don't care if you're taking care of someone who's 90 years old or if you're taking care of someone that's 15 years old. Because caregivers a lot of this show is about Alzheimer's and dementia, but there are caregivers of children with disabilities. There are grandparents taking care of their grandchildren. There are a lot of different caregiving situations, and every single one has different challenges, and every single one has answers. Because whatever your caregiving experience is, like I always say, can be the worst experience in your life or can be close to beautiful depending on how you handle it. And some people learn the hard way, and I don't want you to do that. It was very exciting this morning. I did a support group at Arden Courts. It's nice. It's been like 3 months now back with live. And when you see a caregiver come in and they get tears in their eyes when we're just starting to chat. And then I feel bad because I'm crying. I'm like, no, don't feel bad because you're crying. And when you see by the end of the meeting, the person go, I learned something, or I know that I'm not alone. Because one of the things with the caregiving experience is a lot of caregivers aren't letting other people know that they're caregivers. They think it's my responsibility. I got to do it. Well, while I'm still chatting here, nodding next to me is Tracey Schofield, who will be our first guest. But in case he says anything, I want you to know where that voice is coming from.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Joyful and grateful.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad that you're here.
Me too.
But really, there are just so many different experiences, and we can find solutions. And, I've told this before. Probably like 2 months ago, I was in my mailroom, and a lady opened up her mailbox, and it was stuffed with mail, and it all fell out on the floor, and she started crying. And I thought, but it's just mail on the floor. What's that? And as I'm helping her, and there was another woman in the room I didn't know, and as I'm helping her pick up the mail, she says, I'm just taking care of my husband with dementia, and it's like so hard now. I can't even get to the mailbox. And the other lady in the mailroom says, me too. And I said, you know what? You girls got to be friends, and you need to make me your friend. And like 2 weeks ago, I see them at night walking around the complex with their husbands.
Good for them.
I'm like, yeah.
One can get the mail this day, one can get the mail that day.
Yeah, or we can all go together.
That's right.
I had caregivers years ago that they were in one of my support groups, and after being in the support group, they found out they lived in the same complex. It was like in Sun City Center or something. Like they were neighbors kind of thing. And this was during COVID, so people weren't going out a lot. But nobody was going to their clubhouse. So they would go into the pool room. They got permission or whatever. And it would be the two husbands that had Alzheimer's and dementia and the two wives. And they would play their game of pool, whatever their game of pool was, and have a fabulous time. And the two ladies would get to sit there and chat or not chat for, a little bit of time. So I think there's strength in knowing that you're not alone.
Yes.
Yes, there is. So, Tracey, we're going to talk today about policing kids. We've met a couple of times. You're on my podcast. You came to my Kiwanis meeting. I know your fabulous wife, Jillian Rose. Oh, yeah. And I love your mission.
Thank you.
I love what you're doing. I am getting one of those license plates.
Thank you.
I decided after we had our last conversation.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that in a little while, because why people wouldn't want to get that, I don't know. And I think I always thought that those plates were expensive.
They're not. Once you
make the transfer.
The state does the transfer fee. I think it's $95 the first time. And then after that, it's $30 a year extra, which is nothing. If you think about what we spend money on nowadays, it's such an easy way to it's such an easy way to support a nonprofit for a whole year just by renewing your tag.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about Policing Kids, how it started.
Sure. The Policing Kids Foundation was sort of a spinoff from an opportunity I had in 2009. I was a police officer with the city of Pinellas Park, and we had an issue with a Boys and Girls Club there. And I was working with kids a lot at that point through the police department, especially the Boys and Girls Club. And their roof had collapsed, partially collapsed, so much that the structure wasn't safe anymore. And it displaced about 400 children out of the community. So we didn't have that after-school program, and certainly didn't have the summer program that the Boys and Girls would do.
Which is so important.
It is. I mean, because now it not only affects the children, but it affects the parents that have to now find another place to put their kids.
Right.
It's not like they can't go.
That's safe. That's good.
That's right. So I got this wild idea that I was going to walk across Pinellas County. And after I started training for that, I realized that Pinellas County probably wasn't far enough. So foolishly, I said, well, I'm going to walk across Florida. And so that was the day that we started working on that. We ended up walking from the Boys and Girls Club in Pinellas Park.
Who we?
Me.
Just you.
Me,
now you have people following you along the way?
I had one person on support that was with me, and we had some friends that were part of the volunteers at the police department that had an RV, and they came out a couple times during the trip across Florida and allow us to stop during lunchtime, change shoes, get something to eat, relax for a little while, and then get back on it. We were blessed to have several hotels along the way to Arcadia and Okeechobee and places like that let us stay at the hotels. So that was a good deal for us. Even out in the middle of nowhere in Central Florida, across State Road 70 is a large landfill that a lot of the rural counties use in that area, and they allowed us to stay there and eat there, and get in the air conditioning.
People are good.
They're awesome.
How long did it take?
It was planned out, so we had some media stops along the way, but we took 7 days, about 30 miles a day we walked.
30 miles.
It was a dangerous walk. It was a lot more dangerous than I thought it was going to be.
I'm just taking a walk.
Just taking a walk. State Road 70 is pretty rural.
Yeah, it's cows. I used to take it to Fort Pierce to see my sister. We knew the cows. Everything was just cows. And there's a town in there what's the first town that you hit?
Arcadia.
With an A. There you go.
Yeah, Arcadia. So after you get through Manatee County, you actually get on the 70. It was Arcadia.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty long stretch between that and Okeechobee, and then Okeechobee out to Fort Pierce. So we walked to the Boys and Girls Club at Fort Pierce. That was the ending. And that was great because they had about 100 kids there waiting for us. And they walked the last mile with us.
And so you raised money from that to put the roof on?
About $27,000 we raised.
Wow.
And some of that money, we gave most of that money to the Boys and Girls Club, but I did earmark at the time. That is just when Pinellas Hope was opening in Pinellas County with Catholic Charities.
Yeah.
So we gave them $10,000 as well.
Wow.
And because back then it was in its infancy. If you go to Pinellas Hope now, it's like a little city.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that.
I remember.
In 2009. So, and that sort of gave me the bug to keep going. So I formally created the Police and Kids Foundation.
You were a police officer?
I was.
Okay.
I was. I retired finally in June of last year.
Okay.
So, but that's the charity started officially in September 2011. And since then, we've been working hard on trying to do a lot of things for the community.
All right, so let's talk about it. There was a lot to also trying to help the families of police officers. That's part of your mission.
Oh, yeah. With the Police and Kids Foundation, the first thing that we started to focus on were the families of fallen first responders, mostly police officers. Back then, it was just law enforcement. Last year,
So let's talk about those numbers.
Since our inception, where we really started doing this was in 2016 with the first responders families, we've supported over 100 families in the state of Florida. It's anywhere in Florida. It doesn't matter if they're federal law enforcement, county, state, tribal. We've supported all of those officers' families. As long as it's a line of duty passing, car accidents, something really bad, some felonious assault happens. But it could be even a heart attack during training. If it's a line of duty death, you can see listed, and we support. Last year, we picked up started supporting firefighters as well. We lost 2 firefighters in Florida in 2022 that we supported their families as well.
How many first responders did we lose? And police officers, was it last year or what?
Last year we average about 10 to 12 a year.
Right.
Not a horrible number. 10 or 12 too many.
Yeah.
But last year we had 11. And so we had 9 police officers, 2 firefighters last year. 2021 was the deadliest year in law enforcement history.
Okay.
Yeah, 2021, we lost 61 police officers in Florida.
61.
47 of those were COVID related.
Yeah.
We lost, and we weren't the worst state. New York, Texas lost over 100 police officers that year, but we only support Florida. So we were glad that we only lost 11 last year because 21 was such a traumatizing year for the community. But, a good example is we lost a police officer last night. So we're in Pembroke Pines. So that's over close to the East Coast, Lake Okeechobee. So we were on with their police department today, coordinating with them. How do we support their family? So it usually takes 3 or 4 days for them to provide us with a name and a benefactor, so we can then support.
Tell you exactly what they need.
Exactly. I actually have a meeting scheduled with Pembroke Pines, which is a new police department right next door, on next Wednesday. So we're driving down there anyway. So we're going to deliver money to the family of the fallen officers next week as well. So I wouldn't say it's lucky that it worked out that they're 2 cities next to each other. But it was
God works in
it was a blessing that at least it allowed us to already be there.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about, let's talk about the license plate, because I think that's really important that we hear about this, and I just love how it was created.
So back in 2011, it started with a tragedy, which unfortunately a lot of times these things do. It started when we lost 3 St. Pete police officers in 2011. We lost 2 during one incident, and we lost another police officer a month later. So when those police officers lost their lives in the line of duty, it was the first time we'd lost a police officer in Pinellas County since '94.
Wow.
So it'd been almost 20 years.
That's a big deal.
It was a big deal, and it was, thank God we don't have a lot of that. But unfortunately, it did happen. Our county, Pinellas County Schools, has a criminal justice academy, Pinellas Park High School.
Yeah, which I never knew about until I met you recently.
There's somebody on the line that wants to say something.
Okay. Hello? 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 Is there someone on the line?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hi, my name is Jillian Rose.
How are you?
I am doing fabulous. I just wanted to say thank you so much for today's show, but I also wanted to call in because I am the biggest fan of the person that you're interviewing today.
Yeah, you are.
And I wanted it live and recorded for Valentine's Day, since it's coming up, to say that I cannot thank Tracey Schofield enough for everything he does for our community. I am by far your biggest fan, and I appreciate you not only making our community, but our whole state a safe place. And I love you with all my heart.
Well, I'll tell you, I was just thinking when I was driving in the show today that if it was another life, he could be my boyfriend.
Anytime, Linda, for you. Anytime.
Well, thank you, babe. I love you too.
All right. Enjoy, you guys. You're doing a great job. Thank you.
We'll talk soon. You're the biggest
bye.
fan. Yeah. All right. So the license plate.
So when those children passed, a lot of the kids that attend the Criminal Justice Academy in Pinellas Park High School are the children of first responders, firefighters, police officers,
Makes
military.
sense. Right.
They have a service mind, which is awesome, because you're already starting to see the future of who's going to be
see the good kids.
Yeah, who's going to be those next kids
Leaders.
that take us over.
Take care of us.
So they had a very smart teacher named Richard Cross, who was a 9th grade civics teacher, who he saw that the kids were struggling with the fact we lost these 3 police officers. So he challenged them to express themselves in a way. We didn't have a fallen officer plate, law enforcement officer plate in the state of Florida. So he challenged them to create a plate, just a simple art project for 9th grade. These were 9th graders, 13, mostly 14, 15-year-olds. And so about 180 of them. And they did their little art contest, and a plate was selected. One of the young ladies' plates was selected. So then he took the next step, and he said, and this is our example of the plate.
I can see a little clearer if I hold that.
We'll let Linda hold that.
Go ahead.
So the next step was, how can you get a plate passed to the state legislature?
So first they just created a plate.
It was just an art contest.
And then the teacher said, "Oh."
He saw an opportunity there to really challenge the kids.
Let's challenge them.
And so about 10 of the kids created a little pack, and these are the ones that their dads or mothers were police officers. And they started working with one of the local state representatives, Jim Frisk at the time, out of St. Pete. He's no longer in office, but Jim is the one that was the initial person who submitted the bill during one of the sessions. And back then in Florida, there was a moratorium on plates. So even though it was submitted, it wasn't going to go anywhere because the state wasn't putting new specialized plates out. So they tried in 2011, 2012. At that point, they needed a nonprofit, because you have to have a nonprofit. I was working with the kids at that time after hours because they did state competitions, and I was training with them. So they knew I had the Police and Kids Foundation. So they asked if we could support them with that. And of course, the rest is history. Of course we did.
Yeah.
And it took a while. It took 4 years. Unfortunately, these kids actually graduated high school in 2000.
And then they could put that license plate on their car.
I hope they have it. In 2015, it was finally actually the 15-16 session. So it passed when Governor Scott was there. It went into effect on October of 2016 was when the bill went into effect. So then you have to sell 1,000. Back then, you had to sell pre-orders. Now it's 3,000, but back then it was 1,000 pre-orders. Wow. So we had to first raise those awareness and try to get that word out. So once the 1,000 was hit, then the state started producing the plate, provided them to the first 1,000 people that ordered, and then anybody could get them from there.
Yeah.
So what we didn't know at the time, and this was probably my fault because it certainly wasn't something I was used to doing, was writing legislative bills. I've learned a lot about specialized plates in the last 10 years, is that the language that State Representative Frisk had used at the time, unfortunately, was so restrictive that we actually could not spend the money that was coming in from the sale of the plate. So we went to then at that point, Senator Latvala, and asked him for some guidance. And he said, you're going to have to do this again. You have to change the language. So it's like applying for Medicaid. So we were collecting money off the plate, but we couldn't
do anything with it.
So we went back to the legislators, Blaise Agaglia out of Hernando County, Wilton Simpson, who's now our agricultural commissioner, but at the time Wilton was out of the Senate, were our co-sponsors for all of these years from 16, 17, 18, 19. And finally in 2020, it got attached onto a transportation bill with the help of a lot of people. And we finally got our new language passed where we actually could spend the money for what was intended.
And now that plate's good forever?
It is. You mean the bill?
Yeah.
Yes. So unless the legislators decide they're going to get rid of specialty plates.
Right.
It's very competitive. The state would like to reduce the number of plates, and we have at any given time
there are a lot.
150 specialized plates in Florida. I think they'd like to get it down to about 135.
Uh-huh.
So if you're a low-performing plate, there's always the possibility
you can get kicked.
After all this time, it ultimately took us 8 years to get the plate where we could spend the money. So you could lose it if you're not out working hard.
All right. We only have another minute or two. Yeah. First of all, tell me what happened when you got all that money. What'd you do?
Well, again, thank God we had a surplus of money. And as we mentioned earlier, 2021, we had lost, 61 police officers. That year alone, we paid out over $300,000 for the families. Wow. Last year, we paid out almost $60,000. And then whatever money we have left over, we use to support small agencies for equipment and training throughout the state and anything to do with kids. We've used the money to build a park in Largo.
Yeah, I love that. And we only have a little bit of time, but tell them about the park in Largo.
So the park in Largo is called the Shirai, which means the future. And the teen leadership group for the city of Largo created that name.
Because the teens were hanging out in the children's park and the parents were saying, I want to put my kid on the swing and there's a teenager on there.
So we helped the city create a section inside Central Park, which is the teenagers.
Nice.
It's
they
one of the first
created
in the
it, they
nation.
designed it.
Yeah, it's one of the first in the nation just for kids, especially for teenagers. And the teenagers, it was great working with that group of kids.
Our future.
The future is bright when you think about kids like that.
That's nice because when you're a teenager, where do you go? The mall.
Right.
We just started
or somewhere where you're not supposed to be.
Yeah.
We're working with the City of Pinellas Parks group right now called Teen Works on a project to support one of the elementary schools in the city. We gave the city $100,000 2 weeks ago now for their new Children's Agricultural Center in Pinellas Park.
That's so fabulous.
We're just blessed to be a part of. So we're trying to spend the money as fast as we make it to support our kids, not only for legacy projects like those, but also if we've got little ones that need shoes, diapers, food, if we hear of a homeless family with children.
Yeah, they have a connection with the school. So like if a new family comes in, there's issues, they can do it right away. That's the most important thing. You can do it right away.
We're small, so we're fast.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing.
No, it's not.
Big is slow, small is fast. So we're good.
Where can our listeners find you?
The easiest way is on our Facebook page, which is just the Police and Kids Foundation.
Okay.
You can find us on policeandkids.com, which is our website, or you can call me directly at 727-647-0175.
Thank you so much. We're going to come back to that event too on the second half of the show.
Okay.
Right now it's time to hear from our wonderful partners because you know the deal. If you don't hear from them, you don't hear from me. So don't go away. We'll be right back on Connecting Caregivers Radio.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Are you looking for compassionate and dependable home care for you or a loved one? Assisting Hands Home Care, serving Pinellas and Pasco counties, can help.
The day came that taking care of my mother was no longer the best thing for me or for her. Between kids and a job, I couldn't give her the attention she needed and deserved, and I was overwhelmed. So I reached out to Assisting Hands Home Care. Now I can see what an important decision that was, and I feel confident that my mother has compassionate and dependable caregivers who help her to stay happy, healthy, and home. Today, I'm able to visit with my mother and enjoy our time together, which is exactly what we both needed.
Assisting Hands Home Care. Call today for your free in-home consultation. In Pinellas, call 727-748-4211 or visit assistinghands.com. When you can't do it all, give Assisting Hands a call.
Arden Courts is not just a place to live. It's a place to call home. Residential living combined with quality caregiving. This is the philosophy behind Arden Courts. Communities created exclusively for individuals with Alzheimer's disease and related dementia who would benefit from a safe and structured environment. For additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides, call 888-478-2410 to locate a community nearest you. Inquire about our educational seminars, resource library, or support groups, or simply feel free to ask questions you may have about Alzheimer's and related dementias. At Arden Courts, we know, we understand, and we can help because memory care is all we do. Remember, call 888-478-2410 for additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides.
Sean W. Scott has been practicing elder law and qualifying clients for Medicaid for over 30 years. While his practice is in all areas of estate planning, such as durable power of attorney, healthcare surrogates, and wills, he also prides himself on having a 100% accuracy rate on getting clients approved for Medicaid. Why Medicaid, you may ask? Do you want to pay up to $16,000 a month for a nursing home should the time come? Obviously, no one wants to have to endure this cost. So even though you may have planned well for retirement, the reality is things happen. Planning ahead is never too soon. You need to make sure your income and assets are protected so that you can take care of you and your loved ones. Florida law is very specific on how and what is protected and how to protect it. Give Sean a call. He can help. 727-539-0181. That's 727-539-0181.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
And we are back. And we're going to talk to Tracey a little bit after this. But right now we have our next guest on the show. And our next guest is Amy Cameron O'Rourke. Hi, Amy.
Hello there. How are you?
Joyful and grateful. How are you?
Doing fantastic.
So I see you have an event at Arden Courts on Thursday, March 9th.
I do. I'm speaking at an event. I think it's at the one of the hospitals. I don't think it's at Arden Courts, but they're sponsoring an event around my book, The Fragile Years.
Yes, which is absolutely fabulous. And I have the flyer here all about the event, and I will put it in the description of the show and on my website and everything so people can find it so that you'll have a great attendance. Because I've been reading about you and everything you've done in your book, and I think you have a really good service for caregivers.
Well, over the years, I've been talking to the adult children and the family members, and they're looking at me with their eyes wide open. They're blindsided. They're literally freaking out. They were not expecting their parents to be having such a difficult time in what I've come to know in term the fragile years. They just were not expecting it.
We don't even expect our parents to age. It's like my daughter, I'll be 70 this year. My daughter still thinks I'm 40. Yes.
Yes, and it gets more interesting as you get older.
Yes, it does. So you've been working in the industry for 40 years, and you're an aging expert or an aging advocate, whatever you want to call it. And you have your new book. And some questions I want to ask you, because I looked over your book, is what do I do when my parents refuse for me to let them help them?
So I want the people that are listening to listen very carefully. This is the normal response. If you think about it, you're getting older, you're getting more fragile, you're needing help.
Yeah.
And you're scared.
Fine. I'm fine.
Yeah, you're scared. So number one is don't push it. Listen. Be around with no reason that you're visiting. Don't come in just when they need help.
Don't let them know you're coming.
Well, let them know you're coming, but you're not coming to do anything.
Yeah.
You know, I've heard it said, you know, my daughter came to visit and she hasn't come to visit in a year, and she came and I think she thinks I'm going to die or she needs to put me in a home or something. So they wonder when you come in very infrequently why you're there and that you must have something. So they clam
I never
up.
looked at it like that.
Right. And then the other thing I think is really important for the audience to hear is, you know, don't focus so much on them letting you help them as much as it is you need to learn the systems that you're going to have to navigate when they run into trouble.
Yeah.
You need to learn about Medicare. You need to learn about Medicare Advantage plans. How do hospitals work? How do rehab facilities work? You've got all these medical and insurance systems with all the financial systems that if you don't learn about it ahead of time, you're going to be learning it while they're in the ambulance, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah. Or when we have 80-year-old mom taking care of 85-year-old dad.
Right. Yeah. So I think that's the other thing. And the other point or mistake I've seen people make, and it's got a really legitimate reason to be made, is they start talking to their parents as if their parents are their child. And people call it role reversal, which makes my skin crawl.
Yeah, I don't like it either.
There is no role reversal. There's no role reversal. What happens is people don't know how to have these conversations with their parents. So they revert to the only thing they know, which is like talking to a child. And what it really is, it's a new way you're relating to your parent. And so it's more of a interdependent back and forth conversation than a I'm going to tell you what to do conversation.
Because I don't want you telling me what to do.
No,
if you tell me what to do, I'm not going to do it.
That's right. Yeah, and who does want to be told what to do? But
because I changed your diapers.
Exactly. And you know, if you think about it, when you're scared, all of us know what we do when we're scared. And most people get scared. They get defensive. They start bossing people around. They start trying to control the situation out of a sense of panic, of the uncertainty of the situation they're in. And they don't know what they're doing.
You have no idea what they're doing.
Right. And I would also say, while I have your attention as you're listening to this, aginglifecare.org. All right, everybody write that down, aginglifecare.org.
Okay.
That is a website that has all of it. There's a profession called aging life care managers.
Yes.
And all they do is help older adults and their families in the time of the fragile years. So you need to go on there, and when you run into trouble, hire one to learn, and maybe you use them ongoing, or maybe you just use them for a consult to figure out what you don't know.
Exactly. And if you want to find some good ones, you can go to my website, lindaburhans.com.
Oh, isn't that good? Good for you.
Yeah, we need
Linda,
that
thank you
stuff.
for your service. Yeah, we do need that.
Yeah. Because you know what? I didn't even know what home health care was when I started taking care of my mom. My mom fell. So my mom lived in an assisted living community, and I was going to go pick her up that day to go voting. And for some reason, she forgot I was coming. So she went on the bus with the group from the assisted living place. And she went to the place, and she walked across the parking lot and tripped and got a root like in her leg. It was like all caught up and bleeding. Well, I'm the entertaining sister. I'm not the nurse sister. And I was taking care of her. I was like, oh my God, how am I going to change these bandages? What am I going to do? And they were like, people could come in and help you with that. I was like, really? I didn't have a clue.
Right. And do it properly.
Yeah. And make it safe for my mom.
Yep.
Right. And then let's add another piece of the puzzle. You had Medicare covered home health. Well, there's also another kind of home health called private duty home health.
Exactly.
Well, what's the difference in that? So you don't know what you don't know until you're in the middle of it, like you were with your mother when she fell.
Right. But that's what we're here now, is to try to educate people before the fall. Hopefully avoid the fall. But really, I always say your caregiving experience can be the most horrific experience in your life, or close to beautiful, depending on how you handle it. And I
love that you said that. I love that you said that. I feel the same way. I think it really is a once in a lifetime opportunity. And if you really get into it and accept that this is what you're doing at this time in your life, it can be a really beautiful thing.
Oh, it can be fabulous. I had a fabulous 18 months with my mother, the last 18 months of her life. And I would not give away 1 second. Only one day I didn't get to take her with me to jury duty. They wouldn't let me. But we had a fabulous time. We talked about things we never would have talked about.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, and we just took that time to be on that one-on-one where I just was focusing on enjoying my mother.
Yeah, and when I listen to you, Linda, I think one of the things you can't do well is rush an older person.
Yeah.
You can't rush them. And so in that, if you're not rushing because they can't rush, then you can really be present with them.
Yeah.
Emotionally, be there. And it might give you something to slow your own system down. Because how much are all of us running around? We got to do multitasking, which is really not existent. That's a myth.
Yeah.
But we're running around going fast. But when you're with your parent or a family member and you have to slow down, take advantage of that time. It could be kind of a meditation for you.
Well, you know what? We're running around. We're doing all this stuff because we decided not to accept help or ask for help. So there's one thing with that. And I just did a tip a couple of weeks ago. And if we were like running around the house, doing all this stuff, making sure everything's taken care of, Mom probably doesn't hear half of what we're even saying. Or, we need to sit down, touch Mom, and look her in the eyes when we talk to her. And we need to take some help in because, believe me, a lot of people know how to mow the lawn. And a lot of people know how to do laundry. So even though I'm the bomb caregiver, the ultimate caregiver, you know what? I can get some help and make this journey better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny because the biggest mistake that families make and older adults make in this time of life is just what you're saying. They don't, because they're so afraid. They're afraid of running out of money before they die. They're afraid of running out of money and can't pay for care. They're afraid of dying in the hospital and they want to die at home. Lots and lots of fears. Those are a few of the big ones. Well, they are so scared they don't want to start and spend a little bit of money because they're afraid of running out.
Right.
So they do nothing, and then they have an expensive catastrophe happen. And so I would want people to really learn and try to start small and build on getting care.
Yes.
Because that's really the biggest reason that people end up in a crisis in the hospital and the nursing home is what I like to call pride, pride and fear.
Yeah.
But if you start with very small steps, you could create an assisted living at home if you wanted to. You could move to a community if you wanted to, but start small so that you can really be more independent by accepting a little bit of help.
Yeah. And people want to help you. People really want to help you. I've said this before. When my mom passed away, I was in the supermarket one day and a woman came up to me and she said, "How you doing, Linda?" And I said, "I'm okay." And she said to me, "I'm sick of hearing that from you."
Mm-hmm.
She said, "I got to tell you, when you were taking care of your mother, I could see you swimming in quicksand. And every time I asked to help you, you said, 'No, I'm okay.'" She said, "You stole my joy, Linda. And you didn't give me the opportunity to meet your mom." Yikes.
Yeah, it's interesting, but it's fear. You're afraid and you're running around. And I've had this response when people suggest, "Oh, you should go to a support group." And I rarely see adult children want to go to a support group because they're, like you said earlier, swimming in quicksand. They can't even imagine going to a support group.
Yeah.
They're doing all they can just to hold it in the road. But you bring a good point. If you really pay attention to who's reaching out, offering to help, take it.
Yeah. And accepting help is strength. It makes you a strong person, not a weak person. People think if I ask for help means I'm weak. No, if you ask for help, it means you're strong and you know that you need help.
Right. And it's kind of like, not a lot of people like to exercise and you have to start small and build the muscles. And this is kind of the same thing where if you open yourself up and you accept help, you're developing a new muscle. It's really, really hard at first. You're really uncomfortable. You get a lot of anxiety. But over time, that muscle and your system grows into that, and you do become stronger.
And you learn to delegate.
Right.
There was a woman that used to come to one of my support groups, and all the time we're talking about she was taking care of her mom and her husband. And one week she came to the support group and she said, "I let the neighbor mow my lawn." And we were like, "Yeah. She said, "But I told him he didn't have to edge it." We're like, no, let him edge it. I will say now he mows her lawn and edges it for her all the time. But, and you know what? People want to help you, but if you keep saying no to them, then they stop asking because they feel like they're getting in your space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a lost emotional connection. That's how I look at it. But people are afraid, and I understand the reasons for saying no. And, I think that if you do maybe reach out to someone professional that can help you learn the skill, or someone that that's been through it before to help you learn, you're not just going to be able to, pull yourself up from your bootstraps and accept help and be great at it.
Yeah.
It takes time.
Yeah. Well, one of my support groups has been going on for a long time. Probably 50% of the people in the support group, their loved one has passed in the last year, but they keep coming back to the support group, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so what I've done is I've started a mentor program. So if your loved one died of Parkinson's and a new person comes into the support group that their loved one has Parkinson's, you can talk on the phone, you can meet for coffee if you want, or on Zoom or whatever in between support groups and stuff. And it also helps the caregiver who lost their loved one find some purpose.
That's beautiful. That's really, really beautiful. I love hearing that. And if I get asked to talk somewhere else, and I'll definitely share that when I'm over in the area, because you're right. And I remember talking to somebody about my dad, and they'd never taken care of a parent before. And when I got done talking to them, I had more anxiety than when I started because they didn't know how to support me.
Right.
It's much different when you're talking to somebody that's been through it before, because they can really give you strength.
Yeah.
So a mentor, like you're describing, is a brilliant idea, because that's what I call the gold measure of support, because they know and they can really listen to you on the level that you need to be heard.
Yeah, because it's really hard to talk to someone who knows nothing about Parkinson's or Alzheimer's and dementia about your issues.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's hard to talk about it at all. Now, if I know that you've been through it or you're going through it or whatever, it's a whole different ballgame.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Well, when you come on March 9th, I'm going to come meet you and we'll chat a little bit too.
I would love that. I would love that.
So why is this stage of fragile year so important?
So, when a person or woman hits their late 40s, early 50s, and she goes through menopause, she's really not surprised, because people understand that stage. When your teenagers become sullen and hormonal and uncooperative and different,
I guess,
you know it's coming. So the fragile years is like that, but people don't know that it's a stage. So I'm trying to normalize it. Oh, this is a stage.
Yeah.
If you live to your 65, you're going to live to your 85. Statistically, that's true. And you will reach the fragile years, which is a stage. And when people understand that, they're like, oh, this is normal.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Right.
Makes a lot of sense when you think of it that way. Because like I said earlier, you don't expect your parents to age. You don't expect anything to happen. And they're not going to tell you anything's happening because they don't want to lose their independence. And they don't want to worry you.
They don't want to be a burden. They don't want to worry you. They don't want to lose their independence. There's so many commonalities that happen to so many people in this time of life. And that's really why I wrote the book. I wanted to provide a book that created the acceptance that, okay, this is a normal stage. And then secondly, have inside intelligence about all the things you need to know and understand when your parents are in that stage.
Yeah. Yeah. Because there are no instruction manuals, but maybe this is one of the first ones.
No, that's exactly right.
So,
the book, What to Expect When You're Pregnant, I want the fragile years to be like that for an older person.
Yeah.
Well,
I'll tell you,
I want to be like, oh, yeah.
My granddaughter's pregnant, and that was one of the first books I bought for her. Right away, I went to Amazon, and then there's a mail edition that I sent to her husband. Yeah, that would be very cool.
Yeah.
So, Amy, where can our listeners find you?
Agingexpert.com is one website. The other website, I own a company called O'Rourke and Associates. So O'RourkeandAssociates.com.
Okay.
The book can be found on Amazon. You can buy it through Amazon. You can also find it and purchase it through Barnes & Noble.
Okay, I'll put all this information in the show. Thank you so much for being with us today, my new friend. And I look forward to meeting you.
I look forward to meeting you. Thank you for having me, Linda.
Thanks. Have a delicious day.
You too.
Now it's time to hear from our wonderful partners, so don't go away. We'll be right back on Connecting Caregivers Radio.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Choosing the right chiropractor is an important choice to make. Located in Seminole, the Alexander Spine Center team is trained on the latest chiropractic treatments and technologies. At Alexander Spine Center, you'll find chiropractic and physical therapy care that is safe, effective, and a natural approach to pain and other health-related issues. Chiropractic unlocks your body's potential and natural healing process to ensure your life is a healthy life. We treat clients from the womb to the tomb. Call 727-397-3000 for a free consultation today, or visit our website at www.alexanderspinecenter.com.
They take good care of me twice a week. And did you know they got the Reader's Choice Award for 2019 for the best chiropractic in Pinellas County? So check them out.
Arden Courts is not just a place to live. It's a place to call home. Residential living combined with quality caregiving. This is the philosophy behind Arden Courts. Communities created exclusively for individuals with Alzheimer's disease and related dementia who would benefit from a safe and structured environment. For additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides, call 888-478-2410 to locate a community nearest you. Inquire about our educational seminars, resource library, or support groups, or simply feel free to ask questions you may have about Alzheimer's and related dementias. At Arden Courts, we know, we understand, and we can help because memory care is all we do. Remember, call 888-478-2410 for additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides.
Guaranteed to make you laugh through your tears, Linda Burhan's book, Good Night and God Bless, is filled with humor and heartfelt inspiration to aid anyone facing the challenge of caring for a loved one at the end of life. Her story offers hope for human strength and understanding of weaknesses during a difficult time. Life doesn't normally prepare us to become a loved one's caregiver. When it happens, it's usually sudden. A diagnosis of an illness, age-related frailty, dementia, and life suddenly is anything but normal. And because we don't even know what we don't know, where do we turn to for help or guidance? In Connecting Caregivers, Answers to the Questions You Didn't Know You Needed to Ask, Linda offers information, education, and inspiration from her own experience and from experts whose advice, practical tools, and personal stories will empower and guide you. Make sure to add these inspiring books to your collection today. Available on Amazon.com.
Introducing the life-changing Foot Bar Walker.
I'm Peggy from Danville, Kentucky, and I'm 91 years old. The Foot Bar Walker revolutionized my care of George. It absolutely benefits the patient and the caregiver both, and that's the beauty of it. It's so easy to use. It folds up just like a dream. I got it in and out of the car without any effort at all. The saving that I made from having to put him in a nursing home came to about $192,000.
Does someone you love use a walker? Do they struggle to get up from a seated position? Are you a caregiver dealing with physical pain and stress as you help your patient? The Foot Bar Walker was designed to assist not only the patient, but also the caregiver. Patients have more control standing up, and no lifting from the caregiver is required. See how it works at thefootbarwalker.com. That's thefootbarwalker.com. Peggy, would you recommend the Foot Bar Walker?
Do I ever? I would not be in the health that I'm in today at this age had it not been for the Foot Bar Walker.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
I always got to say, I just love listening to Peggy. Do I ever? So I want to let you know about some events that are going on. So we just spoke with Amy O'Rourke, and her event is Thursday, March 9th. It is at the Dimmitt Family Auditorium on Pinellas Street in Clearwater. So to RSC, and it's at 9:30 is registration. 10:30 to noon is a seminar, or there's one in the afternoon also. 2:30 registration, and then 3:30 to 5 is the seminar. Free valet will be available at this event. So if you're interested, you can call Arden Courts to RSCP at 727-771-1600. And then my friend Brita Kelly, who was on the show a couple of years ago, she's from Michigan. She wrote a book. It was something like 52 Tips for Caregiver. It was like a little coffee book. Well, she has a one-woman show. And the show is her mother's journey from her native Ireland through the end of her life. And it's a one-woman show that Brita does, and she's been doing it on the road. She's in Michigan, but she's coming to Florida. She'll be in Vero Beach on February 14th at the Day of Hope Caregiver Conference. And February 17th, she'll be in Tampa, Florida at the Hillsborough Community College in Ybor, which I'm hoping to be there and meet her in person. I think this will be a great show. If you're interested in it, all the information will be on the show. Then we have Wednesday, March 15th, my good friend, Dr. Kate McCarty. And she's going to be doing a live presentation of Dementia Fairy Tales Old and New, which she did at my conference in November, which was absolutely fabulous. So it is Wednesday, March 15th, 11 a.m. registration, lunch noon to 1:30 in the seminar. And it is, I believe it's at Arden Courts in Seminole. And their number is 517-7800. And pretty soon, because time flies so fast, we'll be having the next Caregiver Connecting Conference, which will be May 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Dr. Kate McCarty will be our keynote speaker. We have a lot of great people. We have Sean Scott back, Teresa Wilbanks, Accent Care Hospice. We have Baycare Memory Disorder Clinic in St. Pete, which is fabulous. We have Chaplain Jerry from Palm Garden is going to talk about caregiving and spirituality. Every day at lunch, we'll do the same thing where we'll have yoga or Reiki or chair meditation or whatever. And then the second half at lunch, we'll have our friends Cindy and Christina from AE Corner. They're coming to Florida. Yes. Yes, they're coming on the road.
Oh, have fun.
So I'm trying to hook up some stuff with them. And our friends Cindy and Christina from AE Corner, what they do is they just test out the newest equipment that's available. They don't sell it. They just test it out and they just product review it. So last conference, it was like the first day they did the newest gadgets for the kitchen. The next one was the newest gadgets for the bathroom. And I think the third day was new adaptable clothing. So they will be back again. And some new people are coming to the conference too. Ryan Hurd from Caregiver Smart Solution. Deb Hallisey, who was on the show last week, advocate for mom and dad, and United Tissue Donor Transplant.
Wow.
Yeah, and a few more coming up. So please remember, I'll let you know when the registration opens. Anyone who registers for the conference, because I don't expect anyone to sit there for 3 days and listen to it, because it's barely enough for me to do it. Within 30 days, you will receive 21 videos of the conference that you can watch at your leisure or share with your friends and family. So please do that. Oh, my phone is ringing, but that's okay.
I thought it was mine. It's not, and it's not. Mine is that.
So I think that's telling me it's time for Linda to quiet up a little bit here. Tune in next week for another great show. You know, caregivers, if you need me for anything, you can contact me at lindaburhans@aol.com, through my website, lindaburhans.com, or at 727-365-8383.
And we'll hear that music.
Yes. Remember, God loves you all the time, and have a delicious day.
And nothing's going right. Close your eyes and think of me, and soon I will be there to brighten up even your darkest night. You just call out my name, and you know wherever I am, I'll come running. Oh yeah, babe, to see you again. Winter, spring, summer, or fall, all you got to do is call, and I'll be there, yeah, yeah, yeah. You've got a friend. If the sky above you should turn dark and full of clouds, and that old north wind should begin to blow, keep your head together and call